From the Arizona Daily Star and Tucson.com, this is the Wildcast.
Thank you for listening to the Wildcast podcast. I'm your host, Justin Spears from the Arizona Daily Star, joined by PJ Brown, Arizona women's basketball insider, among other sports for the Star. PJ, how's your summer going so far?
It's going well. It's going fine. I'm almost on break, so tomorrow starts my break, and I'm very excited.
You're gonna be laying low here for a little bit.
Absolutely. I need to I haven't read a book, like a real book.
Okay.
Since probably December or January.
Okay. Any books that you got on tap, or are you going to
I've got a couple books that I got at the book fair last March, the Tucson Festival of Books. There's the Bo Jackson book by Jeff Pearlman, Jamel Hill's book, and there's a couple more that I'm looking at.
Ooh, the Jamel Hill's book I heard is really good. But the Bo Jackson book, Jeff Pearlman is one of my favorite writers. He wrote Three Ring Circus, which goes into the whole Kobe Shaq era. And he's also, I believe, the author of Winning Time, which is now on HBO. So the show, the Winning Time about the Showtime Lakers, that's inspired by his book.
And did you know that it was originally, the book was called Showtime?
Oh, it's not Winning Time. It is Showtime.
No, the book was called Showtime. The series is called Winning Time because there is a Showtime app.
Oh,
and so they couldn't do that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, Jeff Pearlman is a legend and a great writer. If you're ever looking for a book, PJ, I'm currently reading a book right now. It's called Shoe Dog. It's about Phil Knight and the rise of Nike. If you watch the movie Air,
I just saw that.
You can kind of. That's the reason why I'm reading the book. It inspired me to really look more into Nike and the development of the conglomerate that it is. So, but we're going to be talking some Arizona women's basketball. And it's been a busy summer for Adia Barnes and her program. And we had to talk some hoops before you go on. You're kind of like your 3-week hiatus or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. I'm very excited.
But you need some good R&R. Because it's going to be a busy season. But Adia Barnes, most recently, I mean, she's been kind of on this like tour, I feel like. She's just all over the country. She's in Seattle supporting Sue Bird and her retirement, her jersey getting hung in the rafters. And then she's also in Beaverton, Oregon at the Nike headquarters with Serena Williams and Asia Wilson and all these other high-profile women athletes who talked about how they can empower women in sports and how they can use their voice to uplift themselves. And I thought it was really cool. And then most recently, $100,000 donated from Ms. Barnes to the Boys and Girls Club of Tucson. What can you tell us about that project?
Sure. And actually, the think tank with Nike was held during the season, or right before the season started in November. And this is what led to this partnership. That was the start of the partnership between Adia Barnes and Nike. So Nike picked a number of athletes and former female athletes, and brought them together for this think tank. And then they said to them, and they asked them not only about their own life's journeys, but they asked him about products. So Adia Barnes had a hand in making new workout bras for women and different types of athletic gear. So they got to participate in that type of a process as well. And what came out of that also was Nike also said, and by the way, we're going to help all of you with a huge project to really make an impact on the world. So it's a partnership between Adia and Nike, and Adia's project that she wanted to do, obviously, was to really still helping young women and young girls and get them early and help them grow, not only just on the court with sports, with basketball, but really in their lives. Because when you look at Adia Barnes and who she is, this is all who she is, right? Mm-hmm. She just touches people's lives through basketball. That's that's the starting and the foundation. But what she always talks about is when she gets these freshmen in, like the Sam Thomases, right, and the Helena Poyos, she wants to take those players from when they're freshmen and really help them grow into young women who will be wonderful citizens, right? They will be giving back to their communities and be successful in their own right. So this project with the Boys and Girls Club, starting with the Boys and Girls Club of Tucson, is just that tripled or tenfold or whatever. Eventually it'll go statewide and nationally. She has plans, and they have plans to really blow it out, but it starts here in Tucson. And what it looks like is programming at one of the clubhouses here in Tucson, the Steve DeRue clubhouse, which needed a lot of work. Adia said they had swamp coolers. They just couldn't play sports in the summer or do much there in the summer. There wasn't a lot of programming there. So they're fixing up the clubhouse, and they're going to have different programming from not only just basketball games or leagues or something like that, but also she's going to come and talk to them about, about different parts of growing and different things that they can do to position themselves to get education and to do different things. She's going to bring her team in to play with the kids and do different things with the kids. The kids will go to McHale and see games, and they'll probably be programming there. Like in the past, she's had a girls' power day, and that'll be bigger, and that'll be at McHale. She will also bring in different people in the community leaders and others within her sphere, not only in the community, but elsewhere. Adia Barnes knows everybody, right? Everybody's a friend of Adia Barnes. She's going to bring in these people and say, like, oh, you're the mayor. What was your background? How did you become mayor? Like, for these people to tell their stories and start mentoring these young girls so that they can, so that they can grow and do things. A lot of these kids come from really tough backgrounds where they don't have things that I had, maybe you had growing up. And so to have a place like the Boys and Girls Club where they can go is wonderful. Not only the programs they have to feed kids and to help with homework, but all of this other programming. And Adia Barnes wants to take this and really give more. She's always had a deep connection to the Boys and Girls Club from when she was a kid. She played basketball there and did other programming there, camps, I believe. Yeah. And then when she came here, former U of A coach Joan Bonvicini was on the board and had all the Wildcats go over there and volunteer. When she was in Seattle, Adia joined the board in Seattle, and for, I believe she said 14 years, she was involved in that. In fact, I think the person who was she mentioned whoever led up that program there, the CEO, I think Adia may have gotten married at her house. But wow. She's just always been so connected with the Boys and Girls Club. And then when she came back here, she joined the board here in Tucson as well.
That's great. Wow. Random thought. I just thought about it when you were talking about kids going to McHale Center for some games. Do they still do Kids Day?
The last year or so they haven't. I think since the pandemic, they haven't had Kids Day.
Man. Hold on. What's that experience like, covering a Kids Day game? I can imagine it's very whiny.
It's just loud.
It's just loud.
It's like they don't stop. Like the entire game, for the entire hour and a half, 2 hours of the game, they're just like crazy. They're just going nuts. They actually do sit in their seats, which is amazing. And they may watch the game, but they're cheering, and it's as loud as it's a high pitched loud. That's all I can say. It's loud the entire time, and it's kind of fun. It really is, to see that these kids who may or may not get a chance ever to see a basketball game, right? that they get to come and see it, and they have so much fun.
And who knows, great. You're talking about inspiring possibly the next generation of girl/women hoopers in Tucson, and
absolutely.
I think about, that kind of impact where, you're a young girl and you get to go to a game and you see women, older version of you, playing at a very high level. You feel represented. You feel like, you know what? I'm inspired to do something like that. And I think that Adia Barnes has done a really good job of doing that. And I'm telling you what, PJ, mark my words. There's going to be a wave. And, Tucson has actually produced some really good girls basketball players. But I'm telling you what, there's going to be a wave of girls basketball players in Tucson here coming up very soon that are some of the best in the country. Some of them might go to Arizona. Some of them might not. But I think what Adia Barnes has done has really established her culture and has really started to inspire others. And I think that this project in cooperation with Nike, I think just adds to that. And the clubhouse is on Speedway in El Rio, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It was officially announced Thursday night at an event for the Boys and Girls Club. Their youth, they give some youth award out, and then that person goes on to regionals and nationals. And there was a young woman who spoke, Hakima. I'm blanking on her last name, but Adia said that she was so inspired by her and her struggles and how the Boys and Girls Club helped her. And she even joked that, boy, I wish she's going to do big things in her life, but I wish I would give her a scholarship to come play for me.
So $100,000 project. What else? They're getting rid of the swamp coolers, right?
Yeah.
What are some other cool things that are going into this clubhouse?
She has kept that a secret. She said, wait and see.
Okay.
Wait and see.
And you had a 2-part series on Tucson.com in the Wildcast app. You had a chance to sit down and talk with Adia Barnes exclusively, and you had a nice in-depth conversation. So PJ is going to talk about it herself, but I highly recommend going to Tucson.com in the Wildcaster app to check out that great story. PJ, you did a great job, first of all.
Thank you. So
conversation-wise with Adia Barnes, what were some notable talking points?
Well, everybody's probably talking about two things, and so I guess we'll hit those first. First thing is I asked her the biggest challenge from last year, the best thing about last year, and lessons learned. And right away, she went straight to the heart of it all. She said they were, let's talk about the best thing first, was that they could shoot, right? They had offense. But what goes along with that is that what she said was nobody wanted to play defense. And we saw that all year. The one thing I always remember is Adia talking about buddy running. And we were like, what's buddy running? And she said, it's when on defense, the person you're supposed to defend, you're running alongside with them and as they score a basket. And that happened a lot. And it was everyone. We're not picking on freshmen or new players. Veterans did this as well.
Yeah.
They just didn't get in front and defend. And she said that was very selfish of them, that they just were worried about their own points and what was next for them, as opposed to being a team. And it's one of the things that she's taken now to help this new young team, because let's face it, she has a lot of new players this year. She has 4 freshmen, 4 transfers coming in. And they all got here early. They've been here since maybe June 1st, right around there. The only one who's not here right now is Helena Pollo, who's playing for her Spanish national team at the moment. And but they got here early on purpose because she wanted to set the groundwork from the beginning, and she really wanted to emphasize certain things that she saw didn't work last year, right? So it's really just taking this summer and not thinking, oh, it's the off season, but really working, right? This is when the work happens. This is when you really develop from year to year. This is when you learn the system. I mean, you do all these things, and then there's this really difficult Adia Barnes system that has tenacious defense if it works right. If everybody's buying in and it works right. And so this is the time to really grow as a player. And this is the time to take it seriously and take advantage of it. And so she's really laid the foundation for next year. And a lot of it is based off of what didn't work last year. And that sort of leads into a little bit of what I've seen from the players and how she's put together her roster this year. Even before I talked to her, what I noticed was these players, especially these transfers, they seem really scrappy and gritty and hungry in a different way. She didn't go out because of a lot of other reasons, right? She didn't go out and get the transfer from Louisville or, any other top transfer.
Oh, Haley Van Lith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Or others.
Yeah.
What she did was she looked at what makes the Wildcats special and unique and successful, right? It's a certain type of player. When you go back and look at how she built the program in the beginning with players like Dominique McBride and T.T. Starks and Sam Thomas and even Arie McDonald, who ended up being
the greatest of all time.
Right. But when she came, she wasn't the greatest of all time. Nobody knew, even Adia didn't know she was going to be that. It was a certain type of player with a certain type of mentality. And it looks like Adia has gone back and done a similar thing. And then when I talked to her and she went through each of her transfers and she talked about them, I never like to compare one player to another because who can live up and be an Arie McDonald, right? Who can be a Sam Thomas? Each player is unique unto themselves, and they shouldn't have that pressure. They should just have the pressure of being their best, right? But I see glimpses of former players. So one is Isis, who Isis Bay, who was transferred in from West Virginia. Mm-hmm. She's mature. So she's a little bit older. She's been around. She's experienced. And she's the first one to thank Adia if she sends a group text. Now, some of these qualities remind me of a Trinity Baptiste. Trinity came in here and she was a little more mature. She had played this. She came for her last season. She really knew what she wanted and why she was coming to Arizona, right? She wanted to be coached by Adia Barnes. She wanted that. She wanted to go to the championship game. She had envisioned that, and she thought this was the best place she could go to achieve that. She was also the first one to thank her all the time. So this sort of, it seems like it's a theme. There's someone else who it's just like is an athletic defender, Courtney Blakely. And so she talked about that and just good body language, good culture kid. She even used the phrase again, total package kid. We heard that before with like an Arie McDonald. Mm-hmm. And Courtney is not Arie McDonald. I don't want to say that. But she has some qualities that remind Adia, obviously, because she's using the same language. So I thought that was interesting. Just even Skylar, who's the new freshman who rounds out the freshman class, she's really smart. She comes from Whitney Young High School, which is a top high school, public league high school in Chicago. Okay. You have to test to get in there. And she's a coach's, she is really smart. She's athletic. She seems to be gritty.
Sure. So
that reminds you of players in the past. There is someone who is a coach's kid. And that also, why am I blanking on this right now? Oh, Courtney.
Courtney.
So Courtney's also a coach's kid. And And we know that coaches' kids they can take coaching. And they sort of start at a different level. They see the game at a different level. And so all of these qualities that make up who they are off the court that translate on the court sort of reminds me of getting back to the basics for Adia Barnes. So sprinkled in there with top recruits and really top players, because you look at obviously the highest or one of the highest rated freshman classes with Jada Williams at point guard, Brea Cunningham, and Montea Dew, as well as Skylar now. When you look at them, really, really talented, quality players who bring a lot to the table. So this mix of that plus the other thing, and I always say it's going to be a fun season. We don't know yet how these players will mix, how they will come together and learn that defense, but they're willing. They all seem to be playing, they all already, and it's early, seem to be like a team, like understand the team concept to every single one of them, which is, again, something that Adia hasn't had for a few years. So it sort of shifted once they achieved some success, some big success. They kind of shifted. And now it's sort of getting back to that. They all seem to be on the same page, all rowing towards the same thing, right? And when you do that as a team, the other stuff comes.
Yeah.
When Aerie had Dominique in the middle, and a lot of that stuff that she was doing could flow through Dominique, she was really good. It was easier for her, right? And believe me, her stuff was coming no matter what, whoever else was playing on there. It's just that sometimes it was easy for her. So when you play as a team, and as I'm going back and looking at some of these other teams that Adia's had, what I've really noticed is, there was Aerie McDonald, but if there wasn't, what we've always talked about, if there wasn't a Sam Thomas getting a big block, or somebody else getting a bunch of steals, or something else happening, those teams aren't as successful. So to go back and have these players who could be capable of doing these other things that need to be done, I think is a good look for this team.
PJ Brown, appreciate you for coming by and recording a podcast. So we're actually doing a summer series talking about are the 5 most memorable games that we have covered during our time as a beat reporter. So I'm a little bit different than you guys. I've been kind of like this secondary floater type. I haven't really had a true beat like you and Bruce and even Michael Lev. So I did both football and basketball. I did a little bit of both. I'm assuming you're mostly women's basketball. Is there a softball game in there?
Yeah.
What's your list looking like?
It's 4-1. 1 softball, 4 women's basketball.
All right, so we can't play spoiler here because your series is going to be coming out here
next week.
Next week. All right, so keep your eyes peeled for that because I'm sure a lot of Aerie McDonald is going to be in there.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. And I will say that most people can probably guess off the top of their heads what they think at least a few of mine are. So that won't be any surprise. I think the surprise will be maybe the order that I remember them in and how I view them in, and also maybe the softball one.
Okay. Well, I'm up this week, and so far I've already written a couple of ones. I got the Pac-12 tournament that was canceled on March 11th, 2020, and then Arizona football winning the Territorial Cup. There's going to be some more coming out this week, so go to Tucson.com and the Wildcast app for our summer series. So I'm this week, PJ's next week, and I think Bruce and Lev are the next 2 weeks.
I think so.
One of those in that order. Which one goes first, it doesn't matter, but it's a cool series. I'm very excited to do it. I'm really excited to read yours, PJ, and that crazy order that you talked about.
Yeah, it's been fun pulling them together and going back and not just what I remember and how they stand out, but also going back and, reading what we wrote about them and then really thinking about how this sits in our history and where it stands.
Yeah.
So all of that, it's just been it's been a lot of fun. So it's I hope everybody enjoys it as much as I have.
It's cool going into the archives and checking out our old work, and even like I'll look at some of my stuff from just a few years ago, and I look at my writing then versus now, and I'm like, man, I'm like more polished. And then I guarantee you, in a few years, I'm going to look back at my writing in 2023 and be like, damn, you were terrible. Good Lord. But it's a lot of fun. So go to Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app for our summer project. And it's also a busy summer in the Arizona Wildcats realm. You got PJ covering the Arizona women's basketball team in the busy summer for Adia Barnes. Arizona football earlier this week had a very busy recruiting day, landing a whole bunch of commits. So me shouldering the responsibilities of the beat writer for the U of A football team, I had all the recruiting stories, so go check it out there. And Bruce Pascoe going to be covering the NBA draft this week. Where does Azuolas Tubelis go? That's the big question. So plenty of content coming your way on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster app. And also, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and comment the Wildcast podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.